Hey Computer, play About Bees podcast.
Well, hello everybody, and welcome back once again to another entertaining, educational, fantastic episode of About Bees, Culture, and Curiosity with your hosts, two of them, please, two hosts. Host, Ron Miksha over here, and
Bidzina Mosiashvili.
over there. Okay, hi, Bidzina.
How's it going?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay, thank you. Yeah. Beautiful weather we've had just lately.
Yes, yeah, it's been, like I don't mind a little bit of cool weather with a mix of sunshine. It's kind of what we've been getting. It's really nice.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice. Yep, and we did have enough rain the last few days to just kind of keep things going along. Um, I did a little bit of light bee work with my hives here in the last couple of days, with the help of a friend who lives next door. So he came over and he gave me a hand, and what we were just kind of doing some inspection. And I'm trying to move out of my deep equipment. You know that. I'm going to give all the deep equipment to you, and and that's quite a lot actually. And they and I'm trying to put everything into this shallow 6 5/8 inch depth, sometimes called Illinois, or well, actually not shallow, but medium depth supers as my brood chambers, just because they're easier to handle. They're easier to move around. The big ones are just getting too big and clunky for me these days. So doing that, I already had a super on each hive that I intended the queen to come up into and put a lot of brood out, and and they filled them both up solidly with honey.
Wow.
So we made a huge amount of honey already this year. Just from the dandelion, the apple blossom, the crocuses, willow. It tasted fairly mild. I don't usually like honey that's from the dandelion because it's pretty strong flavored for my taste,
Yeah.
but it was nice honey. Hmm.
I they do have dandelion honey, right? That they sell specifically, or is that
Oh
something?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I would want to try it to see if I don't know the flavor. So you say it's very strong?
Well, not very strong, not like buckwheat or some of the really dark, or some of the pretty powerful eucalyptus honeys can be really overwhelming when you taste them. But it's much stronger and darker than our typical clover honey. So we tend to kind of not want to use it as much.
Mm.
And I'm not going to be extracting this. I'm leaving it on the bees in case they go through a period where there's not much coming in. And I'll mark the boxes so they can be extracted separately, kept separate.
So these boxes the new boxes that you've put, um, they are 10 frames. They're 10 framer.
Yeah, they're 10 frame equipment,
Yeah.
but I'll keep 9 frames in them.
Oh,
And they are, yeah, and they're medium depth instead of big, deep, standard, 9 7/8 or whatever they are that the big ones are. So anyhow, very happy with the bees. No sign that they're going to swarm, but they're very, very strong. I mean, they're just rolling out the tops of one is now in 4 of those medium depth boxes, which would, it stacks up pretty nice and tall. It's just rolling with bees. So they're really doing well.
yeah. Speaking of swarms, I had one of my beehives, the same beehive, swarm twice.
Oh no.
Yeah, and it swarmed on me once. I caught it. I didn't even put a new queen in there because they had already a developing queen, and I thought I just let them do their thing because the original queen leaves with the swarm, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, and so the parent colony, I didn't put a new queen in. The their queen that they've developed swarmed on me again. Just
Ooh,
yesterday. Yeah, I caught that one too. And
good. Okay.
and I was speaking to the person where I have the bees in the area, the host of Hive
Mhm.
location, and they said that the previous beekeepers had their beehive swarm 4 times in a row in this location.
Wow, good location for swarming, huh?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Are certain locations more prone to swarms than others?
Well, in a very broad sense, if you were in the desert
Yeah,
and there's nothing blooming, then you're not likely to see any swarms.
right.
But other than that, no, I think within the vicinity of southern Alberta, within Calgary or close by Calgary, the rolling foothills and all that, with this time of the year, I think I think the chances of swarming are pretty much the same. So
Huh.
it's probably the beekeeper in both cases.
Okay. All right. Well, that's good to
Hmm
know. But at least
hmm
it's a really good area. Yes, you're right. There's a running water right in the behind them, and so much to forage there. Well, it's just by the Calgary Zoo. I don't know if that will
Oh
have
yeah,
effect on them because they keep a lot of flowers, right? They have things,
they do, but it won't make any difference in the world to the bees, to your
right?
honeybees.
Right.
Your bees are out looking for clover and dandelion right now. The zoo was covered in dandelions last time I was there in this time of the
Okay,
year.
that makes sense too. Yeah, yeah.
hmm And then from the Calgary Zoo is pretty much in the center of the city, so it's probably as the bee flies, I'm going to guess it's probably about 7, 8 kilometers before you will see any canola fields.
Hmm.
But they will work the canola from there. But mostly they'll be working clovers because there's a lot of clover that's much closer than flying out to the farmers' fields where the canola is grown.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
dealt with a swarm since I first started beekeeping in my first year when I
hmm
bought Nukes, and yeah, so this was very interesting. Like I didn't do anything different with them. They just, well, I should say I did allow a queen cup to develop because I was going to do a planned walkaway split, but they beat me to it themselves pretty.
Yeah. Well, they did the hard work for you.
Oh yeah, it was as I see. As long as you're able to catch a swarm, I don't think it's that bad.
Well, it, it it depends on how the season unfolds. So if we make a lot of honey in late July and in August, they both the one that swarmed and the new swarm that you caught could both make some honey for you. But there have been years here in Calgary where people have had swarms go out and then they make almost nothing because the hive is so weakened by half the bees leaving. And those are years where the honey flow starts really early and then burns up by the middle or towards the end of July. There's nothing more. So we'll just you never know, right? Just never know what's going to happen.
No, they're doing great. Like the first one I caught is filling up a second box with things like they were it was, and then the original parent colony has 3 brood boxes. Like I don't put well, I put queen excluders on the ones that I'm trying to extract honey from, but if I'm not extracting honey, I just let them run the 3 brood boxes, and this queen is going up and down and laying eggs all 3 boxes. And I was fine. I found 18 broods of frame on the first when I caught the first swarm after taking some
Wow.
brood from them for the
Wow.
swarm. And yeah, so I don't know. They were, but I thought it would slow them down by not introducing a new queen, but I guess I was wrong about that.
They're really popping, aren't they?
Yeah, yeah, no, they're really popping, and I'm happy to see that. But
Yeah. Yeah,
hopefully
it's
they don't
been a good year. hmm
form in someone's face.
What's that? I'm sorry.
Hopefully they don't swarm on someone's face or something.
Oh, I thought people got paid for having swarms crawl around on their face.
Right.
You see that at the circus. I mean, well, maybe not the circus, but
Yeah.
actually, you almost never see that. Uh, you can go places where they sell honey, and occasionally somebody will try to get a swarm to. Have you ever done that? You ever have a swarm on your face?
I've never done that. No. The bee
No.
beard
Well,
where you put the queen, they put the queen on you and all the bees come to her the queen.
that's right. That's right. That's right. I think you should try that sometime. That's that's definitely something that everybody should do once in their life.
I mean,
Everybody.
yeah, I want to have a picture of me with the bee beard.
Oh, that's so vain. Take a picture of me with the. Nah, they just do it for the experience, you know?
Yeah, but
I pretty much
you
had a
have it
swarm on my
forever.
face
Like
just, yeah,
you
yeah,
look back and you remember the memories. Pictures are,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for the memories. Hmm.
yeah.
Well, tell me a little bit about what your bees have been doing then, besides swarming, and you have quite a few hives. So, what are the others? Are they coming along nicely?
Yeah, the six the two, six out of the two that I had overwintered, the two I split seven times.
What?
Yeah, well, one of them I split three, and the other one I split four times.
Oh, okay. So you made seven nukes out of two
Seven
hives.
nukes out of, yeah, two strong hives. Yeah.
Good,
Sorry,
good.
not
Okay.
I made nukes. Yeah.
I, I hope they build up nicely for you. That'd be nice for you to keep your business going and growing.
Well, last year
Um,
was pretty smooth. You know, they accepted the
mhm.
that they were developing, and I went back a week later. I checked on them, and the queens were out of their cages, but I had found some queen cells developing, and some were even like mature queen cells. So I don't know, and I couldn't. I did find like eggs being laid uh, by the new queen just in one of the hives, but
How do you know it's the new queen that was rearing laying the eggs?
well, I just assumed because they were just little, they were the really rice grain stuff that were very mature, very early stage eggs.
Um,
But that could,
okay, let's walk through this a little bit. You have a hive of bees. It's got swarm cells in it, and you see eggs.
you know, yeah. But I only saw it in one hive out of the seven that I made. Other seven
Out of this,
had queen cells as well,
hmm.
but no sign of eggs. The queen's out of her cage, and I couldn't find like I couldn't find like I'm just I didn't want to bother them too much. It was kind of getting late. I just wanted to see if she was released, but I didn't like the fact.
Oh, hold on then. I misunderstood. I thought you were raising queens from those queen cells, but you bought queens.
Yeah, yeah. These are so. This is a new.
Okay.
This is a new. I was making planned nukes. I bought queens. Yep.
Sure. Okay. Well, then, of course, those eggs that you saw would have been from the queen that had been caged. It's often a good idea to not disturb the bees after you make the nuke for at least a week or 10 days after you've inserted the new queen. So you can, at this time of the year, you can make up a nuke and stick the new queen in immediately if it's a fairly weak nuke, like 3, 4 frames of brood, and
Yeah.
not too many bees. You can put the queen in the same day that you've
Right.
made it up.
That's
The stronger a hive is, the longer you have to wait. If you're requeening a big strong hive because it's mean or something, you kill the old queen, you've got to wait at least a day, maybe 2 or even 3 days before you put your new store-bought queen into it. But when you're making these nukes like you are talking about, then you can insert that new queen cage right away and let the bees slow release their own queen. And they've done that.
that's what yes. That's what happened. But
Ye-
there was queen cells being developed. So I was thinking, I'm like, did they kill her and are making an emergency queen? Or could it be from
I'm
the previous beehive that they were going to swarm?
I'm guessing that it's from a previous, those are previous. How long of a time was it between making your split
It was six.
and coming back?
I waited about 6 days.
Yeah, no, they wouldn't have sealed queen cells in 6 days. So those must have been in your colony when you were splitting it.
Okay. And
Yeah, very, very likely.
will will they think that they have a queen, or will the new queen come out and kill those queen cells?
I don't know. Go back and look later.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah, that's what I'm. Like, I don't want to like disturb them too much, because I was thinking, I'm like, maybe I should take out the queen cells, because what if she's here around here or whatever? I like, I'll just, why let her do? I'll just take it out myself. But what if they've killed her, and they need this new queen cell?
Right, right. Since there were probably queen cells in the nukes that you were making up, it's probably a really good idea to go back and check them all to see if the queen got out of the cage and if there are eggs. And if there are eggs and you see some queen cells, then you should destroy them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they will swarm, or they'll.
No, they probably won't. They probably won't swarm, but your new queen that comes out might be preferred by the bees over the one that you paid $60 for. And at that point, you still, you've got a strong, young, homegrown queen
Yeah,
killing your store-bought queen.
that needs to be
But
made.
then you're gonna have to wait. Then you're gonna have to wait until that new queen mates and starts laying, and you've lost 2 weeks approximately at that point.
Right. Okay. Well, I will definitely give an update. But I was like, man, because I was talking to Bill Raymond, and he's like, you got to make sure there's no queen cells on the brood frames that you're putting in a nuke. And
Yeah,
there
he's
was a
right.
lot of bees, and I didn't really do a thorough check. I was just looking for brood frames. I separated,
Right.
left her in on one of the brood frames, and then I was just taking as many as I could.
hmm No, in swarm season, if you have a really strong colony, there was a good chance that they were preparing to swarm, and then you're splitting them, so they're not going to swarm after what you've done to them, but you will probably have some of those queens not being accepted.
Mm.
Let us know when you have a chance. What kind of queens did you get?
I got
Like what background?
Saskatraz queens.
Saskatraz Queens. So
Yeah.
Saskatraz stands for Saskatchewan something or another.
Yes, it's a mix. It's a mix of. Let's actually get Saskatraz. Let's see what it exact. I don't want to get this wrong.
No, that's okay. I get almost everything wrong on this show.
Well, well, I don't know. They're called. So um, I don't know. They're I can't find them too hard, but they're considered to be mite resistant. So they're from
Oh, okay.
California.
They're out of California.
Yeah.
Yep. So they were mated in California, Northern California, I assume.
Yes.
Southern California would have some AHB, some Africanized stock in there. So we are still in Canada accepting queens out of Northern California, as well as Hawaii and New Zealand and Chile and the Ukraine, believe it or not, Italy, all those places. And I probably left somebody out, but all those places are shipping queens to Canada. And some of the queen breeders in Canada are raising their own queens too. So, but they're not ready yet. They're not mated. Or well, they might be about now, but it takes a while here with our season before we can have a good supply. Maybe out on the West Coast in British Columbia, they may be mating the queens and shipping them out now.
Yes, my friend has a that's making a connection with the Indian beekeeper that's a queen breeder. They are
Hmm.
they're making some queens. So yeah,
Okay.
let's see how it goes.
With your friend had one hive of bees, and from that he was going to raise a lot of queens.
Yeah, that's they're raising a lot of queens. I that's last I spoke.
That's amazing. We got to talk to these people and find out what their secret is. How do they raise lots of queens from one colony of bees?
Yes, so the Indian beekeeper, the older gentleman, he has hard time speaking English, but his
Mhm.
nephew could possibly translate for him if we want him. But I think we talked, and I don't know how translations will come out on a podcast.
Right, right. That's probably not going to work, and that's too bad because I think it would be very interesting to
Oh,
see what he has to say.
speaking of guests, we have a New Zealand beekeeper has joined the BQ team, and she's here in Calgary until January. And
Hmm.
she has 3 years of commercial beekeeping experience in New Zealand. So it
Wow, that sounds great.
you would be an interesting guest to have on if we want to talk to her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That sounds like a really nice and that could lead us a little bit more for review of how the bee cube is doing. And also we can learn a little bit about New Zealand beekeeping. I
Yeah,
really enjoyed the episode we had from with the Australian gentleman who was up with his in fact, that's the equipment I'm moving towards.
wow,
He's producing insulated boxes that he's manufacturing right near Canberra and just outside of the capital of Australia. So I have some of his equipment out of my garage right now,
wow.
and I
Victor,
still need to assemble it, get it painted, and then transfer the combs, the frames out of the hives in the backyard. But that's the direction I'm going, and I'm very happy about that. I'm glad I'm making the move.
no, that's a
So
good
so
direction.
these queens,
Yep.
I'm sorry, what was
No,
that?
that's a good direction. I'm thinking going down the same path.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, I can hardly lift anything, but when I get people like you and other people to help me, I don't want anybody to get hurt on these 130-pound full weight boxes. So, if we can work with something smaller, and I can do a little bit of trivial work by myself too with the smaller size boxes.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Well, I saw something in the news here that pretty sad again, that a truck near the Canadian border had crashed and bees were scattered all over the highway. Did you see that? It's very recent, like maybe last week. And it
Someone
seemed
mentioned
to,
it to me. There was a mention, but I was thinking it was somewhere else. I didn't realize it was here in Canada.
no, not in Canada. It was in
Or,
the United States of America, but very close to the Canadian border.
huh? What
Yeah.
happened there?
Uh, a truck crashed. Bees were all over the road. That's all I know. That's probably all anybody knows. I
Beekeeping.
told you once. Did I tell you once that that my older brother and I were in Florida. We were coming back from an apiary that we were working on, and not too far from Disney World, and
Yeah.
we came across a big wreck, and it took a few hours to put everything back together. And at that, it's impossible to put everything back together. You've got combs scattered all over the place. A few boxes stay together, and you kind of say, okay, maybe this is a hive. And anyhow, we just basically were in the operation of giving them a hand because, you see an accident on the road, you're kind of obligated to see if you can help anybody. And in this case, it was bees, and we were beekeepers. So it just made sense to stop and light our smokers, which were only moderately helpful because the bees were so confused. They didn't even know where their hive was, but it calmed down the ones that were still in boxes. But there was probably a couple hundred meters of combs, sticky, scattered along the highway, and somebody had to put it together again. The driver was not a beekeeper. He was a hired driver. So he was driving a semi-load, or as they say in the United States of America, a semi-load of honeybees, lost control, ended up in the ditch with the truck, and the bees scattered all over the place.
My God.
So
So
did you
I found the
did you
article.
find okay, let's hear about it because I don't know that much about it except for the headline.
Yeah, so we have it's a local news from the WTOL.com 11. So I think it's a Washington Telegrapher Online. It
Oh, okay. So
happened.
is it in the state of Washington?
Yes. Yes. So the headline,
Mhm.
it reads, person hospitalized after vehicle crashes into beekeeper's truck in Oregon.
In Oregon. Okay.
In Oregon, yeah. Police or Oregon, how is it said?
I don't know. I've never been there. That's one of the states I still have to try to see at some point in my life. I've never been to the states of Washington or Oregon. I've traveled all over, BC, right up within a few steps of the American border, but I haven't crossed over there.
I think just to not get a little side tangent, but sorry, I think Oregon is that a it's it is a okay. So never mind. So it's the Oregon state. I don't know where Washington. I saw so there was another article where it says on Washington Road, but it's in Oregon. But
Oh, okay.
okay,
Okay, or maybe on the road to Washington.
right.
The bees might have been coming out of some pollination contract in Oregon,
Yeah.
and we're heading north to, how do we say it? Washington?
Okay.
Washington. So they might have been on their way up there for apples or some other thing that's blooming at this time of the year.
Yeah. So police at the scene told WTOL 11 beekeepers were working on side of the road when a pickup truck hit their company vehicle, seriously injuring.
Ooh,
Maybe this is, oh my God, sorry, I'm reading this is a different beekeepers incident that I'm reading.
it sounds like it. It's not the one that
Yeah,
I heard about, but wow.
but this was June 4th, yesterday, 2025.
Okay.
Oh my God. Okay, so one person is in the hospital after an early morning crash in Oregon. The crash happened just before 1 a.m. on Brown near Stadium Road. According to press release, beekeepers were using forklift to load cargo onto a company vehicle when a 20-year-old driving a Chevrolet Silverado hit the forklift. The forklift
Ooh.
was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Oh, okay, so no bees involved, but they were loading a bunch of. They have a picture of a truck full of bees, but their forklift is on the side of the road. Okay,
Well, good. Then no bees were injured in making that movie.
I think this is the this is the article we want to read. Truck
Okay, go for it.
truck rollover releases 14 million bees onto Washington Road. The roadway was closed for 24 hours to allow bees to return on their hives and locate their queens. A tractor trailer on Washington Road set an estimated 14 million bees loose near the Canadian border, causing the roadway to be closed for 24 hours. The county sheriff's office said the truck was carrying more than 70,000 pounds of honeybee hives when it rolled over. The crash caused what was initially reported to be 250 million bees was later amended to closer to 14 million bees to swarm around the roadway. The goal is to save as many bees as possible, the sheriff's office said. At this time, on scene as work done, hive boxes are from the overturned truck were recovered, restored, and returned to use, officials wrote. By morning, most bees should have returned to their hives, and those responsible for their delivery will be in charge. Beekeepers said that they do not return their hive. The insects that do not return their hives will likely turn wild, joining existing colonies or forming new ones. They said the weather and environmental conditions in the area are giving the bees a high chance of survival. The initial crash appeared to be the result of a driver failing to adequately navigate a turn, officials said. The truck driver was not injured, so he couldn't navigate a turn and it flipped over, lopsided.
Yeah. I don't want to read too much into it, but that can happen if a person's driving a little too fast coming around a curve and has a lot of weight that's distributed kind of high, which, if they'd stacked up a lot of bees up pretty high on the back of that trailer, then it's going to tip more easily than if it were lower.
And
so
if we can actually
bees.
just real quick, I do have a video of the scene and how it looks if we want to just share to the audience. What do you think?
I think you've described it probably as well as anything could be done.
The truck
You want to do it. Okay, go ahead.
All right, I'm going to send a request to share my screen here.
Yeah, of course. No problem.
So this is it here. So I thought the truck was rolled over, but looks like what happened was
Ooh. Okay, so folks that are listening to this podcast, just so you know, we're seeing some really awful pictures here of a pretty messy bunch of bees all over the place on the road. A turbo forklift is trying to clean up some of the equipment. The Freightliner truck is parked close by. Oh, it just looks. Oh, it's. I'm sad. I think we want to jump. Oh, look at all the bugs on the bumper. Not the bumper, but the air trap on the top of that tractor.
So the truck
Look at that.
roll over. Just their it was.
I wonder if those are bees.
They did.
Yep.
They did it too high, I guess. They just didn't have it properly secured, and it's just all the.
Who knows? They might have had a flat tire. Who knows? We can't speculate. I don't want to. That's not very nice of me to even suggest that. It's just pretty sad. Those bees look really, really, really messed up. That was pretty bad. Yeah. But anything else going in the world of bee news that you have heard or thinking of? Or
no,
I do want to. Yeah.
Oh
no. Yeah. No. Is there okay. So today I got a little bit of my paperwork. I hate paperwork. I'm just so incredibly bad about getting stuff done. But today, this is trivial. A normal person could do this on the day that it arrives and have it done in 10 minutes. It took me a couple of hours to sort out everything, look for my premise identification code, renew my Calgary beekeeping registration certificate. So I'm registered with my 2 hives of bees in the backyard. That's a legal responsibility for beekeepers in Calgary. So I fulfilled that. But unfortunately, they have a portal online with the city of Calgary, and I went there. And it just wouldn't accept my code numbers. I thought, did I miss something? Did I mistype? What's going on here? So I saw that there's if you're having trouble with registering your beehives in the city of Calgary, and this is a renewal. It's not a first time. I've had bees here for quite a few years. So it's a renewal. And if you're having trouble registering your animal, because it's under the animal division, then there's a number to call. So I call that number, which is 311 here in Calgary. And I got a hold of somebody after a couple of connections, I got a hold of somebody in the animal licensing department, and I gave them my account number, and she goes, I can't find anything here for you. And I go, but I should. And she goes, so did you license your dog or cat last year? And I said, no, not the dog or cat, because the same bureau does dogs, cats, and honeybees.
Yeah.
And she goes, we can't do honeybees on the internet or in my office, but I'll transfer you to another office. And every time you talk to the government and they're going to transfer you to another number, you always hold your breath. Or is there going to be somebody over there? Are they going to answer it? Is it going to go dead? Did they misdirect me to the pizza shop down the road? But I went through the right location and I'm talking to somebody and I explained it. And within like 5 minutes, because I had all the correct numbers and everything that she needed, I paid my $11, which is what it costs to be a registered beekeeper in the city of Calgary at this point in time. And I got it done. And they immediately sent me the registration certificate. So that was all handled. My other thing that I did, which should have been like a 5-minute deal, but somehow these things just take me longer. I renewed my honeybee keeping registration for the province of Alberta. So we're registered with both the city of Calgary and the province of Alberta. So I went through the paperwork, and there my hiccup was that somehow their site wasn't quite working until I had to refresh everything, and then it worked. Then I got through it, and no costs. So they don't charge you to be a registered beekeeper in the province of Alberta. It's done through the Department of Agriculture for Alberta, and I think they recognize the value of bees for pollination. So, you're keeping bees. Okay, that's something we do here. Inside the city, keeping bees is more of a nuisance. So they are trying to track things, nuisance problems and so on. I don't know. How do you feel about registrations?
So I had my bees registered when I first started beekeeping, and
Hmm.
then I moved to BC in my second year of beekeeping, right? So it was this weird.
Right.
I had this limbo period of I was in BC, Alberta, so I hadn't. And then in 2024, I was down to 2 beehives. So I was thinking that this might be the end, but this year I officially registered because I decided to continue it. So I just registered with,
Right. Okay.
and yeah, I thought it was gonna be I'm like, oh, just another authority figure, but really they just want to keep track of what's happening and just give you the right information to take care of your bees. Very friendly,
Hmm.
not they sometimes you could be late on your registration. Like they just want you to register. That they don't. There's no they're not going to reprimand people for not doing it on time or not doing it properly. Like they just want you to do it and get some communication going with them.
Yeah, but if you're going to be nice about it, you should do what you did. A person should do what you did, and that is to register in the province of Alberta before June 29th, which is the annual deadline. And here we are in early June, so people who are listening and are in the Alberta area still have about 3 weeks to pull themselves together. And listen. If I can do it, I know you can do it. And I'm not talking about Bidzina, I'm talking about the general you, like anybody who's listening. If I can successfully register something online with my ineptitudes and my reluctance and my procrastination, big on the procrastination is part of my life, then anybody could do it. Anybody could. And yeah, you're right. It's not like Big Brother kind of
Yeah,
where are those bees. I
yeah,
did run into that when I was an apiary inspector in the state of Pennsylvania when I was quite young. Like I was 19, 20 years old, and I drove around in a government car and I went into apiaries and I had to look for American foul brood. And people, especially when I got into the more mountainous areas, the more remote areas, they were really apprehensive about having anybody know what they were doing. And what I had to describe to them and tell them, and I tried to be as nice as I possibly could. I only once had to bring in the police in order to,
get in there.
kind of get the guy to Yeah, get the guy to put his gun away.
Yeah.
Literally, there was a gun involved. You ain't touching my bees. But most people, when you explain to them that it's for their own benefit, that if I find a disease, they might be able to treat it, and at least it won't spread to other colonies. But also, I'm going to be inspecting their neighbors. And if they have a sloppy, lazy beekeeper full of American foul brood, then they need to know about that. And we, the government, that we have to take care of the issue so it doesn't spread to everybody else's bees. But a lot of people are very reluctant to do anything with government. I don't blame them. I mean, it can open up a lot of things, but that was 50 years ago when I was doing that, and I don't think it I don't think there were any real bad issues about what we were doing with inspecting bees and keeping track and keeping records. It kind of helped people know what size of a honey crop, how much disease is around. And it's the same here in Alberta. It's a way for the government to keep track of where the colonies are. And if there is an outbreak of disease, then they could and should, I hope the government does, contact beekeepers in the area because they have their email, they have their phone number, and they know that they have bees in, let's say, Wheatland County or Rocky View County, or something. Then they know that, okay, there's a beekeeper there, there's a disease, a resistant strain of American foul brood that these guys need to know about so they can monitor their own hives more closely. So there's that. The city, it's a little different. We had, I think we've talked about this before too. We had an incident where a beekeeper had way too many colonies, like 80 in their backyard. And because of that, the neighbors were complaining a lot. Now, at first, I was against the idea of registering the bee colonies, but you know, the reason I was against it was in a case like that person with 80 colonies in their backyard, we do have nuisance bylaws in the city of Calgary. And all you have to do is call the city and say, I've got to make a complaint about one of my neighbors. My kids are getting stung when they go outside. My laundry has got bee crap all over it on nice days. We're just, it looks unsightly because the hives aren't neatly arranged and there are way too many. So that could have controlled any issues. You call the bylaw officer, they come out and investigate what the problem is. Same with, a lot of noise in the middle of the night. You call the bylaw officer. Anyhow, we did go ahead and I put my I don't know what I want to call it. I put my voice to, some of the guidelines. I kind of helped. Other people were a lot more involved than I was in making the guidelines. But what we have now is you're allowed 2 colonies of bees in your backyard in the city of Calgary. And we have about 250 to 300 beekeepers in the city of Calgary.
Yeah.
So all of that has to be kind of registered and looked after and everything else. Anyway.
Yeah, no, exactly. And, it just, there is pictures people can see online, and yeah, it just does not look pretty. It's not rainbows and flowers beekeeping.
Yeah, sometimes it is unicorns too,
Yeah,
but
even when you
not
have
always.
beehives, it looks no matter however you like to slice and dice it, it looks chaotic.
Well, not always. One of my brothers worked with me up here in Alberta, and he was running a bee farm for me, and he did everything so neat and clean and organized. You went by his bee yard, every colony of bees was exactly the same. Like he would run a string like a plumber's line
Yeah.
so that all the colonies would just barely touch that string to know that they were lined, in a very straight row. Like everything he did was like that. He's very very, very good at being clean and organized. It's just amazing, amazing guy.
Yeah. It seems like in the moment, you're like, why would you do that? That's just wasting time. But it's weird how those small time consuming actions when you're immediately doing stuff, how much it saves time later for some reason. Like I don't know how to explain why that would save time for your brother, but I'm assuming that did something for him and the bees that was more. It was more productive than saving that time to do that.
Well, there's the rub. I'm not sure that putting bee colonies in a very perfect straight line is that great of an idea. What is a great idea is he kept everything mowed all around the colony. So there's good air drainage, airflow. He kept the bees colonies well repaired so there are no tears or rips in the woodware. And they were stacked up nice and neat and straight so that they weren't dripping honey or anything like that. But the straight line, that's something that we discussed. And although it really makes you feel pretty good when you're pulling out of a bee yard or driving in for to look at them. But the bees get confused. The bees can get very confused with colonies in one long straight line, all the same white color. They can drift a lot. They'll end up in the wrong colony because there's not enough there to help their memories about where they belong when they fly back. So a lot of beekeepers, when they're not using pellets, will place colonies where one is facing east, one is facing south, one is facing west, not usually north. So 3 colonies, and just kind of scattered a little tiny bit, and then maybe a meter away, like 3 feet away, they'd have another cluster of 3 colonies, and just slightly in a little different angle again, because that's a good way for the bees to remember where they're going. But I will say that just having things kept really neatly, it is what you said, that is indicative of a pattern or a habit that shows that people who are keeping things clean, keeping the honey clean, keeping the shop clean, keeping their combs fresh, somewhat newer than getting old, burned out frames. It's all part of the same game.
Yes, exactly. Because
yes,
it's just building habits. Because you do that,
building habits.
Like, well, I might as well go do that, and then it just kind of spins out into.
That's right.
You're
That's
just
right.
rolling up all up a hill. It's like this.
Hey, I think we've covered. Yeah, it is. It's like Sisyphus pushing that ball up the hill just to release it and let it roll back down, so tomorrow morning you can do it again. I got to go. I think we're gonna draw to an end here. We're about an hour into this conversation. It's been really good. We got caught up a little bit. We haven't been on together for a little while, but I do appreciate that. I could catch you in very short notice. That we're going to get this out here in a few days, so people will know that we're still in business. And we'll just end here. Tell everybody good night and goodbye, and thank you for listening.
Well, thank you everyone for listening, and join us sometime next week for a brand new episode about bees, culture, and curiosity. Take it away, Ron.
Bye. Hey, bye everybody, and thanks again. Bye, Bidzina. Good night.